have deep-seated fears of taking leaps of faith on yourself, trusting yourself, well, I'm going to share a multidimensional chakra scan that I just did for a client in case it helps you on your journey as well. I go into her auric field and her energy body is there, and she had a chain wrapped around her wrist that was attached to something else. I thought it was the wall, but I couldn't see at that time, and I was more focused on that she was kind of having a little bit of a panic attack. And I came up to her and I said, hey, are you okay? You're safe. I'm here. I heard you, per my client signed up for this, and let's do some breath work together to help us regulate. And I asked her if it would be okay if we worked on her chakra system. And she said, yes. But she said, I'm really worried about what I'm attached to over here with this chain. And I said, okay, well, let's turn on the lights. And so I etherically went over to the wall and flicked it up. And all of a sudden we were surrounded by this rainbow energy. And she said, where are we? And I said, we're in the rainbow healing room. And I told her to close her eyes and that we're going to start working on her root chakra. And my intention was to work on her whole system to kind of see what was in balance, but it went a whole different direction. And so we start working on the root, and I said, okay, I want you to envision that we are in this nice house and there's this warm fire going, and all of a sudden she started panicking even more. She said, oh, it's too hot. We're on fire. And I said, no. I said, open your eyes. We're safe. Everything is okay. And to me, energetically, that's representative of sometimes going after the negative what ifs in life and catastrophizing, mainly because we are dysregulated, or maybe there's trauma and PTSD that happened in our life. It's a safety trauma response to do that. And as humans, we haven't really evolved physiology-wise above that. We needed that back in the day when we were cave people, but we don't necessarily need it now. And sometimes going to the negative what ifs become a self-fulfilling prophecy, and then it ends up happening. I asked her to close her eyes again so we could, it's 222 on my phone, so we could go back in meditation, and the chain came off without her even knowing, because it really was about the fears of the unknown, and being dysregulated and me being there helped her feel a lot more safe. And me and her higher self transported her over to a Reiki table so I could continue to work on her. And I thought I was going to do the rest of the chakras, but I took a eagle feather and I was waving it over her for healing. And all of a sudden the bear spirit came forward, like a mama bear, which they are representative of nurturing energy, divine feminine energy, and it can provide protection and safety. And so that's what she needed in the moment. So bear came up to her ear and was like sniffling in it, and it like tickled her, and she was like, ooh. It was really funny. But so we were working on her, and all of a sudden Native American drums started playing, and it was a very repetitious beat. And then I saw Native Americans actually dancing around us in this circle. And then all of a sudden I was zapped into a different timeline version of her. And me and the bear went into this different timeline. And I was, again, looking at a table, but this time it was a ceremonial table. And there was a man that was laying on it, and he had a heart. Not a heart, he had an arrow that was going through his heart, and he was laying on the table, and he was about to pass to the other side. And all of the Native American tribe that he was a part of were doing this ceremony as passage over. And so I was like, hey, what's happening? And then he took me, this man, back into a memory of where he had gotten the arrow. And basically he had wandered off from the tribe, and there was a protocol that nobody was supposed to go off by themselves for safety reasons, either because of, animals that could have gotten them, or if you fall down a cliff or something, right? And so that was a rule in this tribe. But he got curious about some noises that he was hearing in the woods, and he was like, oh, it'll be fine. And then he walked off, and then apparently somebody shot an arrow at him, and I don't know if it was invaders or if it was a different tribe. That wasn't exactly pertinent to the story, but he did end up getting an arrow in him. And so I was watching him on the ground, and it was a very long time before somebody came to find him, because they didn't know where he was at, obviously. So that by the time they got him back to the tribe, he was about ready to pass to the other side. To his higher self while he was laying there, and I said, do you regret going off alone? And he said, no, I don't regret it at all. He said, this is just the cycle of nature. He said, I know that I'll be reborn, and you can't live a life full of regrets. I said, oh, that's beautiful. and I was giving him the analogy like curiosity the cat, and he was like, no, I don't feel that way. That I was just ready for my next incarnation to go on a new journey. And I'm okay with that. And like the whole entire tribe, even though they were really sad and mourning, they had that fundamental understanding. Really funny is I asked him how old he was, and he said 40. And he said, but not like y'all. He said, y'all have all these stressors that make you feel very old. He said, I feel 20. And I said, okay. The reason he was coming forward for my client was to help her with a karmic lesson and also soul healing, like very deep soul healing on something. So we'll talk about that in a second. But I'm going to read you what he wrote here. He was saying that she is currently dealing with fear of stepping into the unknown, not so much regrets of the past, but worried about future regrets, making the wrong decision. And sometimes we don't make those things, like the choices outside of our comfortability zones, and that really push us into a new identity because they are anomaly decisions. There's a lot of variables and things that unforeseen could happen. And so we pick the safer choices because of things that have happened to us in the past, like trauma, PTSD. And in this case, he was saying that even though he in his incarnation was fine with what happened because he understands the cycle of nature and that he was going to be reborn into a new incarnation, your mind and your spirit can have a completely different experience than your actual physical body. Okay, your human self, your physical vessel. So even though he was okay with what had happened to him because he understands the cycle of life and that he's going to be reborn, he can have a fulfilled life in the next one, his actual physical body incurred a lot of trauma and was recorded in his Akashic records of stepping out into the unknown, going to see what that noise was, and then not following protocol, not picking the safe path of going with somebody else, and then getting a fatal wound because of it. There was a confliction in the soul contract, and it had a rollover effect to my client in this incarnation, and not just hers, other incarnations as well. He was coming through to be like, hey, I'm at peace. Everything is okay. But there are a couple ways that we can heal our central nervous system with these things. First of all, your central nervous system is different than your subconscious. Your central nervous system works with emotions and feeling safe, and your subconscious works with languaging, with affirmations and rewiring. Rewiring and affirmations are going to have a real difficult time implementing and integrating into your life if your actual physical body does not feel safe. So that's why it's really important to heal our central nervous system and find practices and activities that get us back into our body instead of kind of a disassociative space where we're not really engaged fully in life. We need to be present. Then we can start working on overriding those self-limiting beliefs and putting in new emotions, making space and room for them, because that's ultimately what we're trying to do when we're trying to manifest things in our life. It's not actually about the 3D tangible things, it's the emotions that they're going to bring to us. And this is why it's really awesome to learn how to connect with these different timeline versions of yourself, because they can have some real nuggets of wisdom, and you can also channel from them and learn from them, from their experiences, so you can integrate those lessons in your incarnation in the here and now. Love to hear in the comments if this resonated with you, if you learned something new, and if you would like a multidimensional chakra scan so you can understand yourself on deeper levels, you can schedule one. Or if you want to learn how to access these planes within yourself, you can sign up for the Quantum Evolution Academy. And you can find both of those in my bio, in the comments, or the description box below.